Hi, everyone. Welcome to another installment of IF and Love Cinema. And today we're talking about Carlos Enrique Taboada's Más Negra que la Noche, aka Blacker Than the Night. And this is a horror film from the 70s from Mexico. And even more unique, it's a Mexican horror film in the style of Giallo. And if for those who don't know what Giallo is, I recommend looking up a video on it. It's essentially a type of horror movie that had very specific visual styles and themes and characters. Dario Argento, of course, is the most famous giallo director. But yeah, this is Carlos Enrique Tawada's attempt at recreating the giallo style for Mexican cinema. And for me, it's a complete success, an absolute success. This movie. This was the first Carlos Enrique Tawada movie that I've ever seen, and it left a really solid impression. I mean, I'll be honest, of the three movies that I saw in that box set that I reviewed. By the way, check it out, the Vinegar Syndrome Mexican Gothic Blu-ray review. It's on my channel. Probably leave the link in the description if you guys want to see it. But yeah, it's the first film that I saw of the three that were on there, and I'll be honest, it is the weakest of it, but. To say that this is the weakest is a hell of a compliment because this is an incredibly enjoyable little horror movie. And what I mean horror, and this is going to be kind of a running theme amongst all of Carlos Enrique Taboada's movies, but it's that this guy he just makes classic scary stories. He tells these stories using the horror genre very effectively, and they're all essentially like all classic horror tales, more or less morality plays. And with Más Negra que la Noche, it's definitely a film about modernity and tradition, specifically about the modern woman and sort of the modern women of the 70s, of course, and the more traditional women that came before them. One of the best parts of this movie for me is the character of the maid, who is this like incredibly stoic, stone faced, kind of scary lady, and she starts the movie off kind of not being all that likable, but she represents sort of the more traditional side of things and all that. And as the movie goes on, she steals the show for me personally. It's a hell of a performance, and it's a great character. And uh, sort of get back to the whole horror aspect of this, right? To give you guys an idea of what I mean by this being a classic horror tale, the story starts off with a character who you never see, but whose presence sort of looms over the entire film in a really great way, and all you see is her hands, right? And when you see the movie, like, or at least for someone like me who like kind of gets captivated by this sort of shit, like they casted those hands very well. They're so skeletal and long, like it fits the theme so perfectly. Never ever have just a pair of hands set the tone for an entire horror film so goddamn effectively. At least not that I've seen before. And that's really the strength of Carlos Enrique Taboada as a storyteller and as a filmmaker, and the movies that I've seen, and especially here, is that he sort of is surprisingly simple, and simple isn't bad. I don't think simple is a bad word. I mean, I love punk rock, right? Jurassic Park's one of my favorite movies. Simple does not mean bad or dumb or anything by any means. It really depends on what you do with it, right? And I think what Carlos Enrique Taboada does with his simplistic little um, morality plays and horror movies, not to say that they're not, without their surprises. Other films are a little more complex than this one, but is that he is able to take these simple ingredients and just really convey a sense of dread, a sense of horror, and kind of leave you walking away with what horror movies do best, which is leave you unsettled. The movie has a classic horror ending where it's it's not like a cliffhanger or sequel bait or anything, but it definitely ends on a note of dread and of terror that definitely lingers in your head, the way that you're sure is going to linger in the characters' lives long after the events of this movie. Another great thing, I mean, I really cannot compliment this movie enough, to be honest. Really, all his movies. I mean, again, this is the weakest of his films, but as you guys have probably noticed, it's been just one compliment after another. And that's just because, like, yeah, this movie has its flaws, but I think the point of a movie is not to be without flaws. I think the point of a movie is to be so good the flaws don't matter. And this movie definitely does that. Like, yeah, there's like little tiny things that I could probably nitpick to you guys and all that, but ultimately I was just really taken in by the experience, by the writing, by the story, and really the acting in this. I mean, all of Carlos Enrique Taboada's films have great acting, but the main actress in this film, on top of the woman who played the maid, they're both just really awesome in this. The main character definitely is one who walks that line between modernity and tradition, and that leaves her character in a very interesting place towards the end. And that's not to say that this is like a sort of conservative movie by any means, because it's not. You know, um, the sort of moral issue at the center of this story um, is not damning on like feminism or anything like that. It's much more universal than that. So yeah, like a great film. I cannot recommend this enough. I got it from the Vinegar Syndrome Mexican Gothic Blu-ray collection, which again I highly recommend. Check out my review on that for more thoughts on the actual package. But the films are great, including Más Negra que la Noche, aka Blacker Than the Night. So, however you guys can see it, if you guys are interested, I highly recommend it. That's gonna be all for today's reviews. That's gonna be all for today's review. God damn it! I was so close to getting it all perfect there. But yeah, thanks for watching. And hit like and subscribe if you've seen this movie before. Make sure you tell me what you thought in the comments. Until then, see you guys next time. Peace out.